All right, good afternoon. I hope everyone has had a great first day so far. Welcome to the 2025 First Annual General Meeting. Who has the As we thank you for your patience so far as we work through our technical joys here. All right, so the agenda for the AGM, we will have a call to order and then establish quorum and provide the results of the 2025 election, and then we will close the AGM portion of this session. All right, so we will call to order the AGM. Each first full member has one vote. The quorum is equal to 10% of first full members. With 788 eligible voting members, that makes the quorum 79. The quorum was reached with 267 proxies received, which equates to 33.9%, designating Tracy Bills the chair, which is myself, and Michael the treasurer as participants for this AGM. So just a reminder of the AGM process. The participation in this AGM is limited to the first chair and the treasurer. Privilege to speak is limited to these two participants present holding the proxies. Privilege to make motions and votes was restricted to the proxy holders for the limited agenda items. There were no motions submitted from the membership by the 30 April 2025 deadline. These are your board members whose terms will continue until 2026. These are the board members whose terms are expiring. For the board election procedure, the election was held via online voting. Each team could vote for up to 5 candidates and had to be cast by the primary team rep. The voting period was May 28, 2025 at 00 UTC through June 11, 2025 at 23:59 UTC. The results were provided by Big Pulse to the first attorney, Rick Walker, and the executive director, Chris Gibson. In the event of a tie, the first bylaws call for a random selection. The board will elect officers at their first meeting later today on 23 June. Official announcement of the officers will be made to the first team's list by email. These were the board of directors candidates for this election. Just what I wanted. The first attorney, Rick Walker, and executive director, Chris Gibson, reviewed the election results on 12 June. The first team monitoring received reports of issues with the voting link, and that was immediately fixed. No other feedback was received. The first attorney, Rick Walker, and executive director, Chris Gibson, determined the online voting and election process to have been fair and proper, and that the results stand. So some stats from the participation in the election. There were 267 votes cast. That equates to 33.9% of members that were eligible to vote. Your election results. So we want to thank Mona for her time on the board as her term ends, and we would like to congratulate the candidates 1 through 5 that were elected to the board for the next term. Thank you all, and I would like to personally thank Mona for all of the contributions she's made during her term on the board. and as you see throughout this week as conference chair. Yes. Is that the last one? Yep.
Adjourn the meeting. And with that, I want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second. So this AGM is now adjourned, and we will move on to program updates. All right, so welcome to the 2025 First Annual Members Update. The agenda for this session will provide some organizational updates and some reports out on first activities, and then open for any questions.
With regards to strategy, thank you. With regards to strategy and governance, we have two main updates. Earlier in the year, we launched the first strategy framework, which consists of a 3-year strategic plan that goes from 2025 to 2027. That's informed by the first vision and mission that will in turn inform an operating and financial plan. In a normal scenario, it will be for 3 years as well. This time we already had the budget for 2025, so during 2025, we are working on a 2-year operational and financial plan for 2026-2027. Then it'll also include an operational plan that's annual, as well as an achievement and progress report that's also annual. So we launched this strategy framework that is an achievement, and it'll help first enhance its position as a global leader in incident response and security worldwide, and enhance its financial posture, obviously. Now, on the next one, on governance, very quickly. The next one. Thank you. There were no submissions, no motions from the members with regards to bylaws changes. There are discussions ongoing between the board and with the rules committee with regards to the composition of the board, whether or not 10 members is an appropriate number, whether there should be less or more board members. Also with regards to the duration of the term, whether 2 years is appropriate or whether it should be longer and how longer it should be. Those discussions have been there and are still going on, as well as with regards to whether there should be a nomination process for the candidates to run for the board. These discussions are taking place. These will likely be motions for the members to vote on next year in 2026. It'll of course be socialized properly and with plenty of time so that the members can make a decision and vote when the time comes. That's from me, Tracy. Thank you.
Cool, that's me. Hello, for those I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, I'm Nadia Youssef from New Zealand, and I represent membership on the board. So in exciting news, I can share a bit about the state of where First membership is. We have 808 full members, as well as 192 liaisons and 2 associate members as of, I think, this week or today. And I can share a little bit about associate membership, which is a new category that we started recently that recognises that there are many teams globally that have an interest in incident response or have security teams but don't reach our criteria to join as a full member. Organisations that maybe couldn't achieve SIM 3 accreditation but have a strong and valuable contribution to make to the community. So we found that this sort of tiered membership model would help include them in the community. So there's a lot more information available about that on our website if you know organisations that might have been interested but were held back by maybe not reaching the criteria for full membership. Next slide, please. These are the new teams that we've brought on since last year's AGM. So I'll hold a slightly uncomfortable pause and you can see if your name's on the list. You can look for your friends too. Maybe that's long enough, Tracy? Mm-hmm. And similarly, we have the new liaison members here. I I offered to read out each name individually, but my colleagues thought that might be unfair for you guys. So. Thanks, Tracy. Maybe I can't read them out. And as you know, for any member to join as a team, they need a sponsor to assist with the membership process. And I would love to take a moment to acknowledge 5 teams that have been the primary sponsors for at least 3 new teams this year. So that's Cisco Systems, CERT CBRT from the Dominican Republic, CERT CC from US, CrowdStrike CERT in US, and TW CERT in Taiwan. And if there are any representatives from those organisations in the room, please do stand up so we can acknowledge the amazing work that you've done to help support the community. If there's not... Next slide, please. Of course, like any good security team, we have turnover and churn, and we've said goodbye to a few teams as well. The contribution that our volunteers and committees make to the community is profound and something that we are endlessly grateful for. And the membership committee does a huge amount of work vetting and supporting new teams coming on board as well. So the membership committee chair, Baiba Kishkina, and the committee, Don, Olivier, Paco, Jean Robert, Christine, Logan, Giacomo, Jamie, Justin, Klaus, Peter, Rohit, Sharif, Tracy and Antonio, thank you so much for your work, for your support in helping build this incredible community. We really do appreciate everything you put in for us. We grow year on year, which is pretty spectacular, I think. I joined the party here in 2015 when we had around 200 members, and today we have 808. We don't push sales, we don't have targets or anything like that. Our growth comes from the value and reputation that we've built as a community together. So tell your non-member friends, and let's keep building and growing this amazing community. It's wonderful, thank you. This graph has a lot to see on it, but the one on the left looks at the increase in number of individuals that we've had in the FIRST community over the past 15 months. And the one on the right represents the numbers of countries that are now involved in FIRST, which correlates quite closely and is quite interesting, I think. Trace? My final slide. Our global coverage is at a whopping 113 countries. Personally, I like this map because New Zealand is on it, which doesn't always happen. But you can see in grey the areas where we're not quite so well represented in. And that is something that we talk about often and something we're interested in doing better and in continuing to work towards so that we can continue in our journey to become a truly global organisation. That's all from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Nadia. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying our annual conference. The Communications and PR department has prepared the annual report, which compiles the most relevant moments and information from 2024. It should be available in any time today. I recommend everybody to read it. And I also want to invite all the members who want to contribute to the newsletter, stay tuned to our next newsletter and can send us your contribution, your articles, and hopefully we will include it in the next one. Thank you.
So, infrastructure updates. I'm doing this for Dave, who's somewhere down there in the audience, tapping at keyboards, no doubt. Clearly, as we've grown, we've expanded, we need to make changes to our infrastructure to make sure we can support the scale that we are now. As you saw from the last graphs, we're significantly larger than we were 4 or 5 years ago. So we've done quite a bit this year, but mainly behind the scenes. So much of this will not be immediately obvious, but it has built much more of a resilient system. We removed the blue sky from our webpage, a personal mission of mine for 5 years. We've tidied up the webpage. You'll notice now that we have, I think, 4 big buttons, and we've tried to break it into that sort of join, learn, community, training type issue to make it easier to navigate, or easier for you and other people to go, how do I join? How do I learn? How do I participate? So we've refreshed that. Not a major refresh, but very clearly, I think, a much cleaner view. Behind the scenes, we've implemented a portal that allows us to hit support.first.org, which gives you drop-downs and the ability to do stuff, which then automatically goes through to the right team. So very standard stuff, but stuff we didn't have before. We migrated off our old social media platform to a new one, which gives us much more flexibility. So we now do things like Blue Sky and Mastodon, and so we can program all those, we can get all those ready, we can coordinate them and so on. That's been a major improvement from me sitting at my phone trying to tap a message on and pass it out from a channel. Brought on board the 2 grant processes we have, which is the A4 grant and the regional liaisons piece. There's been quite a lot of work, again, behind the scenes of how do we get teams on who aren't members but are part of that program? How do we make sure that we're sharing information properly and so on? The implementation of groups and subgroups has been very important. Many of the SIGs, or some of the SIGs, let me rephrase that, have subgroups within them. So I think the PCERT SIG has a number of subgroups, and some of the others do. And we didn't have the flexibility to set up, the mailing lists, the wiki space, all those things automatically. So we've built that into the portal now. We've moved heavily off our old sort of data center kit onto Amazon. So we've also used that opportunity to migrate to data center versions of things like Atlassian and Jira. They're all in Amazon, so they're more resilient, they're more capable, there's more flexibility and so on. We've put things behind Fastly with a WAF, so we now protect our services much more than we could before. We can monitor them, we can see where they're going. You guys know all these things at your end, but we've been trying to make sure that we're as resilient as we can be given what we do and the fact that we want those systems to be up consistently. And then finally, for this one, the deployment of the Jupyter Hub-based training platform. So where we have trainers who want to use Jupyter as a notebook, as a means to do training or to train people on it, we can now spin those up and down in a heartbeat straight through the portal. That just gives us more flexibility. It makes it easier to do it the next time we want to do it and so on. So there's been a lot going on. There will be more this year, but that's a significant chunk of work from Dave and the infrastructure team. So I'd like to thank them for that.
Thank you, Chris. So, hello everyone, I'm Michael. I'm the CFO and treasurer for First, and I will give you a very short update over the First financials. There was a more detailed update on First financials on the 4th of June, twice at 7:30 UTC and at 2 p.m. UTC, where I presented the details. So very short. First is a US 501c3 not-for-profit. We did an audit on our financials with an external auditing company, and they didn't had any material findings. So all these numbers were audited. How was the year 2024? So in 2024, we had significant more income than in the 2 years before. The result was a change in net assets of around $1.1 million US. It's an exceptional income based on the exceptional participation in the conference and also in the sponsoring in Fukuoka last year. The income also changed from the structure. So the first time we had significant income from grants. That's the small gray part you see in the bar, but you can also see that the yellow part, this is the revenue from events, has raised significantly. What do we expect for 2025? So in 2025, we have a balanced balance sheet. So the total expected revenue is around 6 million. Around half of it is expected to come from events. Membership will raise about 2 million, and grants and trainings around 1 million. The same amount is on the expense side, around 6 million. The biggest part is for events, so we don't make a lot of money with events. And the second largest block of expenses is our community and capacity building activities with around 1.3 million US dollars. With that, over to you, Serge.
Okay, so we do a lot of policy, or maybe I should say public policy engagement. This is about talking to people that make laws, that discuss how states should behave in cyberspace, so that their decisions don't negatively affect our membership. The internet is a global construct, it's a global thing, and states want to have a say in there, but they can also do a lot of damage if they start constraining our members or you in actually working together globally. So that's why we have a policy engagement. We kickstarted a policy SIG this year that is already fairly active. We're still trying to find out what all the priority policy areas are that we want to involve. And this type of policy has nothing to do with a security policy. So it's more kind of like a, how do people behave and things like that. But we have been also very successful in actually talking to policymakers and diplomats, less by talking than actually making them do work. So we will call this tabletop exercises. They call it scenario-based discussions. We confront diplomats from different nations with fictitious scenarios and ask them how they would react, and then demonstrate how what effects these reactions have. That has created quite a bit of very positive echo, leading to a big understanding of what it is first does, what people in this room actually do to make this internet thing work. So that was very successful. I mentioned the SIG, and then the big news that we actually just learned about 2 weeks ago is that we have been accredited by ECOSOC. ECOSOC is the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations. What it really means is that FIRST is now accredited at the United Nations. We have people that get passes to the UN, and in relevant discussions, we can bring our views in and really try to represent the best interests of our members in negotiations, be this about soft law, but also be this, for example, about the recently passed Convention on Cybercrime. So I think the policy engagement is kind of, it flies a little bit under the radar because it sounds a bit strange to a technical community, but it's actually quite important, and FIRST has been doing outstanding work with a couple of really dedicated volunteers, so thanks to all of those. And that's it.
Okay. Oh. Yes. So now we are at past events, as this slide says. Past events in this context, that means events that has been organized since the last annual conference. We have on this slide 3 different kinds of events. You see what's called conferences, so that would be this conference, the annual conference, and 2 topic-oriented conferences. The CTI conference that were held in Berlin in April, and the VolnCon that was held in Raleigh in March. The purple ones, those are regional symposia. So they are held in different regions, being conferences to ease travel a bit for those who are not able to attend the annual conference or just wants to go to another FIRST conference in their own region. The last category on here are the TCs. They are the blue ones, and those are member-organized events. So they are not organized by FIRST centrally, but they are organized by FIRST members around the world. And as you can see, they are mainly in Europe. Luckily, we got New Zealand on this slide, on the map. There was a TC, oh, wait, go back. There was a TC in New Zealand this year, but we really want to encourage more of these technical colloquias around the world. So those are, as I said, membership driven. Some of them are big. that means up to 300 people, but some of them are small. They are like 20, 30 people meeting up, discussing a topic, or being part of a community, a local community. And they don't have to be big events with a lot of resources put into them. So we really encourage more of those. They're great for building the local communities. Then the next one. So this is just a breakdown on events, I think from Serge, you made the slide.
Yep, that's a breakdown of events.
Yes, but I'm not sure if it's for just this year or if it's further back, but that doesn't matter. Conference attendance, as you can see, it is growing. We are not yet this year we're not breaking the record yet this year, but if everyone picks up their badge this year, we will. So it is a constant growth, and it's nice to see that we are back after the COVID break. So that's it for a conference. Yuka.
Thank you. So I'd like to talk a little bit about our trainings. So first, conduct trainings as an opportunity for outreach and also share cybersecurity expertise to wider community and audience. And for the last 12 months, we have conducted a lot of training events, obviously along with our annual conference and also other regional events, including regional symposia and TCs. And also, there are some other training events also happened based on the request by local organizers, something like a standalone training events. And also as part of the events organized by international organizations like ITU or, for example, some government organized events by some countries. Next slide, please. So you will see the list of trainers who contributed to our training opportunities. First training is supported by First Trainer Community, which is a volunteer effort. So we'd like to thank those trainers who were involved in this training efforts. The bold ones, especially, they are the ones who are actually have been to or been conducting the trainings in the multiple occasions. And I would also like to highlight that we would like to give special thanks to Sir Polska from Poland, who gave trainings in the multiple occasions, including at the ITU cyber drills happening in different regions. So we would like to thank all those trainers and also Sir Polska especially.
So, community capacity building. You heard me talk about this morning. I will now tell you it all over again, just to make sure you remember it from this morning. So, to my mind, and I think to most of the board's mind, or to all of the board mind, community capacity building is very much what First is here to do. We're here to expand the people on the internet, have people in every country to be able to contact people, and to have solid, resilient, mature teams everywhere we can. So, this community and capacity building is absolutely aimed at doing that. We've been very lucky in the last few years to get a couple of grants from the UK government. We clearly would like to get more from other governments and so on, but right now, them. And we have the Africa Regional Liaison Initiative, and Eric and Lawrence are sitting in here somewhere, I hope. If not, I will hunt them down, but they should be. Two people in Africa really working with African teams to understand what African teams want, how we can help them, how we can take what we think they need or they think they need, how we can partner with other organizations such as Shadow Server and others to really deliver to those teams and help those teams mature and come up as fast as possible. The end game is that they join first, but that's not the goal of the program. The goal of the program is to make a more secure, resilient internet. So that's really important to us. The second piece, which is coming to an end, but we're hoping to extend in a different way, is the actioning alerts and advisories, where small teams, I think some of the Pacific Islands, Caribbean, some small countries, very small number of people, they get alerts about a vulnerability. How do they communicate that with their members? How do they write advisories that people can help, that can read, that people can understand why they need to do something right now? So we've been working with a number of teams, I think 4 teams, to really workshop with them how this works, how to do it, also how to communicate in crises. So Hayden Green, who should be in here somewhere, is fundamentally involved in that, really helping those teams understand how they can respond to incidents, how you communicate in an incident, how you make sure that you're balancing that you know, privacy versus confidentiality versus I need to tell my customers and my constituents. So really, really important. But not only in that space do we work, we've done an awful lot of work with CSERT Americas, we've done a lot of work with global fellowships. Well, there are something like 50, 60, 70 fellows here. Some of those are our fellows, but for instance, the UK Home Office have funded folks from the UK overseas territories to come here. So papers like the Falkland Islands and Turks and Caicos and so on, where they can really help join this community because some of these areas are very small. They need to be in the community to get the help and the collaboration and the coordination that we hope you will all give them. Particularly ECOWAS also, so we have African teams, similar thing, teams from the Pacific. So all of that builds into that community and capacity building. Finally, on this slide, the Toastville tabletop at the UK, the UN Open-Ended Working Group, I think this was the Women in Cyber piece, really important. It gets our name known, it gets people thinking about us, and it helps build that community and capacity by people in a room talking to each other, learning together and networking. Really, really important. And if Clay is around here, he says, trying to scan the room. Is he hiding? He's over there. He's over there. Hey, Clay, big shout out to Clay. Clay has done amazingly this last couple of years. I'm constantly in awe of how much work he gets through and how many things he does. So big hand to Clay, if you don't. Stand up. Next slide. We have the Suguru Yamaguchi Fellowship Program. This actually started when I was on the board, so this goes back way, way back. We have 16 fellowship teams in this time, and this is, again, us trying to reach out to smaller nations, smaller places that don't have potentially the money or don't have the backing from their ministers, government, whoever, to come to a first conference and understand the power of the network. So we fund these folks to come for 4 or 5 years. They come to the conference, they meet you, they hopefully buy into this. They can go back and persuade their management and folks that this is a good thing and that they should absolutely invest in it. 31 of these folks are here this month, at this conference, which again is an awesome thing. Really, really important to us as we reach out into those areas that are quite harder to reach and so on. We took on 2 new teams this year, Mauritania and Namibia. If they're in the room, I like to think they're in the room. Are they in the room? Anyone in the Clay? Are they here? Clay doesn't know if they're here. Jeez, what do I pay these people for? Amazing work that we do. And if they're here, I would give them a round of applause, but they're not, well, they don't appear to be. Really important. Next slide. So, CORE. I talked about CORE this morning. Those of you who were at the keynote will have heard about this. But this is our new sponsorship program to help build on that capacity building piece. And the idea, as you see, don't ask me. Oh, fascinating. Is to foster community, to improve that operational capacity, to build resilience and empower incident responders. We realized as we went through COVID that a lot of our funding was essentially event funding, which is very cool when you have events, but when you don't have events causes us problems. As we try and build a program that has resilience and is multi-year and so on, what we would like to do is have a funding mechanism that allows us to do that multi-year, not reliant on a program that may or not happen because we may not have a conference. So we bought into this. This is very firmly focused, I think, at big corporates is where we're looking for, but we're quite happy to talk to anyone about this, frankly. So what have they been doing this year? We launched it today. Fortinet are our first major sponsor. We have a core track taking place on Tuesday, tomorrow, where the folks who are in this are able to really do the core CCB track that allows them to understand and help each other. It's to build in regions where resources are limited. It's very simple. It's a very powerful program, and we're really hoping this will fly.
So regarding the SIGs, the special interest groups, we have 35 of them that are currently operating. We highlighted those who were created over the since the last conference. So you've got the cybersecurity communication, you've got the human factor in security, you've got the law enforcement SIG, the policy SIG, the strategic thinking and planning SIG, and the transportation and mobility SIG. And I can add that the red team SIG that used to be created, I think it was 2013, has been bootstrapped again recently. So just a way for you to see how active the community is. And I mentioned that already yesterday during the newbie session, but please pay attention to all these SIGs because they are really worth attending. And if you want to know more, you're going to have on Thursday morning presentation, 1 hour presentation. Most SIGs will come and try to present a summary of their activities. So I strongly encourage you to attend this part in order for you to get the latest news on what's going on within the SIGs.
So now to the exciting part of the meeting, the Incident Response Hall of Fame. First, I'd like to thank all of the participants in the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for 2025 listed here, especially the chair, Jeff Carpenter. And now we will hear who this year's Hall of Fame inductee is.
So, before we announce this, hold on. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. This quotation applies very well to the qualities of the person who got won the award this year. So if we can go to the next slide. Rich Pethier. I'd almost like to ask how many people have heard of Rich Pethier. Put your hands up if you have. That's a very small number for someone I would consider to have been hugely, hugely influential in this. It embodies, that quote embodies the qualities of Rich. He's a fisherman, but he's founding director of the CERT Coordination Centre, CERT-CC, now part of CERT at Carnegie Mellon. For 3 decades, Rich led CERT from its origins as the first computer security incident response team to a world-class organisation very much dedicated to research and response. The current CERT director, former US government Chief Information Security Officer and US Air Force Brigadier General, retired, Greg Toohill, know him well, he's a good man, stated succinctly, countless people and organizations around the world, including myself, have benefited from Rich Pethier's leadership, his technical acumen and strategic vision. He did not just create the world's first CERT, which he did, but he arguably launched the entire cyber incident response discipline. Few people have had such a profound influence and effect on making the world a safer place. His entrepreneurial spirit, his vision and his passion enabled him to have the foresight to know that an international network of CSIRTs, each with their own unique environments, infrastructures and constituency, would be essential. We are all different, but we need that network. We can get together, we can talk. That's what FIRST is. He was a founding member. CERT-CC were a founding member. In fact, I think they're the only founding members still in, because a number of them dropped out because of various other things. But CERT-CC is literally the first member of FIRST. They were in 1990. They hosted the first set of meetings. Before we became a formal organization and rented hotels and went to places, the meetings were done at CERT-CC, and Rich hosted those. He invested resources for CERT to develop and deliver training courses and handbooks for CSIRTs, including the very popular Handbook for CSIRTs, the very first book that a lot of us would have read when we came into this world. They assisted in the improvement of various CSIRTs, US CERT, for instance, clearly now CISA, or the United States Department of Homeland Security's Infrastructure Security Agency, the original OSCERT, QCERT, NAVCERT, ACERT, and Air Force CERT. He was fundamentally involved in all of those things and fundamentally involved in the way FIRST started. So really, really influenced, but I'm shocked that fewer people don't know him. But hopefully after today you do. He used his influence to expand his work, CERT's work in related technical areas, cyber workforce development, cybersecurity center development, cybersecurity engineering, enterprise risk and resilience management, insider threat, reverse engineering for malware analysis, secure development, security vulnerabilities, and situational awareness. All the things that we still do today. All of them, every one of those things. Many of these were shared with other CSIRTs as they were established and are made open source and institutionalized into that first CSIRT service framework. The innovations created under Rich's vision throughout his tenure are many. Since CERT-CC was chartered in 1988, CERT has built and supported national CSIRTs with tools and training to help managers, project leaders, CSIRT staff, and computer forensics professionals. CERT remains the sponsor of what is now the 20th annual technical meeting for CSIRTs with national responsibility, which will be this weekend, which many of you will be attending as national CSIRTs. Restricted to technical and managerial staff members, it provides a forum for national CSIRTs to share information, tools, techniques, and strategies that address problems unique to CSIRTs that are responsible for a nation or an economy. So it's not, we all do some stuff, but these are the national CSIRTs. These are the really important ones that we need to know about. Really, really fundamental. It is nearly impossible to fully document the reach that Rich Pethier has had in this community. The number of downloads of views of SEI blogs, podcast series, software and tools, technical papers, and vulnerability notes database and webcasts is in the millions, and he's fundamentally responsible for starting every bit of that. CERT CC continues to hold its membership at FIRST as a very important part of its work, its highest esteem. Most recently supporting Tracy Bills, a senior cybersecurity operations researcher. She serves as chair of the board of directors. They sponsored the National CSIRT for 2 decades. Through these contributions, Rich Pethier has advanced this field of cybersecurity incident response, creating and establishing foundational principles that CSIRTs have used for decades. Now, unfortunately, in the words of those music things, Rich could not be here today. I'd like to think he's on tour, but he's probably relaxing somewhere. First, we'd like to welcome, I think, Jeff Carpenter on stage to share Jeff's acceptance remarks.
I'm honored to read Rich's remarks. As many of you may know, Rich was my leader and mentor for many years when I was at CERT CC. So he gave me some remarks he'd asked for me to read here today. Thank you all for this incredible honor. I'm deeply honored to be recognized by FIRST and included among so many respected security and incident response leaders. I had the privilege to be involved in the creation of FIRST. My participation began following the first internet worm, the Morris Internet Worm of 1988. Following the worm, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, then the sponsor of the internet, established the CERT Coordination Center at Carnegie Mellon University's Software Engineering Institute. I served as its director. One of the key goals of the CERT CC was to serve as a model and facilitate the creation of other security and incident response teams. Even from the beginning, it was clear that the diversity and scale of computer and network technologies, as well as user communities, made it impractical for a single response team to provide coverage across the universal coverage across the internet. The CERT model then presumed the creation of multiple CERT organizations and mechanisms to communicate and coordinate between them. I began having discussions with other groups who were getting involved in incident response in order to build working relationships and also to start talking about the collaboration concept. Early on, we started with the Department of Energy's newly formed SEAC group, NASA Ames Research Center, NASA Space Physics Analysis Network, Goddard Space Flight Center, the newly forming Air Force CERT, the Naval Computer Incident Response Team, the Defense Communications Agency's Defense Data Network, and the group working on the proposed Department of Army Response Team, and SPAN France. Over the next couple of months, the teams got to know and trust one another and together worked to resolve a number of incidents. In a way, that concept of collaboration began to become a reality. At the time, the National Institute of Standards and Technology had a responsibility in the United States for the security of unclassified systems and networks. Following another widespread incident, I approached NIST to play a role of neutral broker to work with the CERT CC and other teams to formalize the collaboration concept. Over the next months, a series of collaborative planning meetings were held, and the name FIRST was selected. The initial FIRST operational framework was drafted and approved. One representative from each of the founding members formed the initial steering committee, and I was selected as the initial steering committee chair. The CERT CC served as initial secretariat, as it had already been supporting the infrastructure for secure email and keeping various lists. I think it's fair to say at this point, FIRST was up and running. Over the following years, the CERT-CC has continued to support the creation of other response teams through the development of training courses, handbooks, and other materials, as well as direct collaboration with newly forming teams. Those efforts continue today. FIRST has also continued to grow and evolve. I'm delighted to see that it continues to be a vibrant organization. It brings together the best minds to collaborate on developing and sharing solutions to ever-changing global cybersecurity problems. I thank you for your recognition of the small role I played and applaud you all for bringing your knowledge, skills, abilities, talent, and time to FIRST collaborative efforts. Keep up the good work.
So clearly, as we mentioned, Rich is not able to be here. But at this point, I'd like to ask Paul Nielsen, to come on stage and accept our, grateful thanks, round of applause, huge, support and so on. Paul, there you go. Thank you. No problem at all. Oh. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. All righty.
Hey, thank you for joining the member update. We're no longer displayed, but the next slide is Q&A. So we have a couple minutes left if there are any questions from the members. I can't see, so. No questions?
Okay, I have one.
You're not allowed.
I have one.
Is there one in the back?
I just have a
no.
comment, Tracy.
Okay.
Just to update that the annual report is already posted in the portal. So please read it.
Thank you. All right, if there are no questions, then that concludes this year's member update. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the week.